Welcome back to part 5 of our deep dive into the most iconic Disney cartoon shows ever made. We've covered classics, modern hits, forgotten gems, and believe it or not, we're still going strong. The Disney Afternoon and Disney Channel vaults are deep, so let's not waste any more time and jump right into today's incredible lineup. First up, let's talk about a true father-son classic, Goof Troop. This show gave us the hilarious dynamic of Goofy and his son Max living next door to the perpetually grumpy Pete and his son PJ. It was packed with wild family antics, tons of genuinely embarrassing dad moments from Goofy, and a surprising amount of heart. The relationship between Goofy and Max was the core of the show, and it felt so real. Plus, this series was so beloved that it directly paved the way for a Goofy movie, which has since become one of Disney's most cherished and cult classic films. Goof Troop wasn't just a show. Was the foundation for an entire legacy. Next on the list is an often forgotten but super fun series from the 90s, Quack Pack. This show took Huey, Dewey, and Louie from DuckTales and aged them up into full-blown teenagers, alongside their Uncle Donald, who was now a cameraman for a tabloid news show. They traveled the world getting into the most absurd situations. They were dealing with aliens, monsters, and bizarre news stories that were completely over the top. The show was loud, it was extreme, and it was very 90s in its attitude and style. It had a completely different vibe from DuckTales, but that's exactly what made it great. It was pure, unfiltered chaos. Now, let us slow things down and get into some pure wholesomeness with the new adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This show was warm, gentle, and incredibly comforting. Watching it honestly felt like being wrapped in a warm blanket. All our friends from the 100-Acre Wood were there: Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, Eeyore, Rabbit, and the whole gang. Each episode brought simple, heartfelt life lessons about friendship, kindness, and facing your fears, all delivered with a gentle simplicity and undeniable charm. It's no wonder this remains one of Disney's most timeless and universally loved series. It's just perfect, right? Let's get into a slightly controversial but undeniably memorable one, Disney's Doug. Yes, after its initial run on Nickelodeon, Disney picked up the beloved classic and gave it a brand new chapter. The show continued the story of Doug Funny, now a little older, navigating new stories and challenges. It had a slightly updated look, but the heart of the show was still there, with the same lovable Doug, his best friend Skeeter, and his crush, Patty Mayonnaise. Whether you were a die-hard fan of the original Nick version or you grew up with the Disney era, there's no denying that Doug, in all his forms, it's a huge piece of cartoon history. Here's a show that was seriously slept on: 101 Dalmatians, the series. This series expanded on the movie's world, focusing on a whole cast of puppy personalities living on the Dearly farm. Our main trio was the brave leader Lucky, the always hungry Rolly, and the quirky, philosophical Cadpig, who was often joined by their friend Spot, a chicken who desperately wanted to be a Dalmatian. Of course, you can't have Dalmatians without Cruella de Vil, who was back and more extra and dramatic than ever in every single episode. It was a fun, high-energy adaptation that gave a lot more personality to the pups. Let's buzz into a really unique one, The Buzz on Maggie. This was a show about a teenage fly named Maggie Pesky, living in an insect metropolis called Sticky Feet. It followed her everyday life dealing with friends, family drama, school, and her dreams of becoming a rock star. The whole concept was so creative. It was incredibly colorful, super quirky, and had a fantastic punk rock-inspired soundtrack. It was a short-lived but truly memorable gem from the mid-2000s Disney Channel era that definitely stood out from the crowd. Next, we're diving into the goofy underwater world of Fishhooks. The show centered on three best friends, the dramatic Bee, the chaotic Milo, and his nervous brother Oscar as they navigated high school. Inside a pet store aquarium, the premise alone was bizarre and brilliant. The show was known for its hilarious characters, almost constant chaotic energy, and a one-of-a-kind photo collage art style that made it a visual standout of the early 2010s. It was weird, was funny, and it was totally unforgettable. And finally, let's end with a modern preschool classic, My Friends, Tigger and Pooh. This show reimagined the 100-Acre Wood for a new generation. It introduced two new characters, a young girl named Darby and her dog Buster, who joined Pooh and Tigger to form the Super Sleuths. Whenever a friend had a problem, they'd get a call and spring into action to solve the mystery. With its bright CGI animation, focus on problem solving, and gentle adventures, it was the perfect series for younger Disney fans, introducing them to these iconic characters in a fun, interactive way. And that's a wrap on Part 5. So many incredible shows on this list. Which of these Disney classics do you think deserves more love? Was it Goof Troop, Fish Hooks, or maybe the timeless comfort of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh? Drop your pick in the comments below, and don't forget to follow or subscribe because Part 6 is already on the way. Thanks for watching.